Hello, everybody. Welcome to Coach Unblocked, part of the Unblocked Podcast Network. I'm Coach Fred Riley. Thank you for so much for tuning in tonight. I am with Coach Terry Canova, UMS Wright Bulldog, women's basketball coach, football official, New Orleans Saints fan, world traveler. Next to Keith Kaufman, he may be the most interesting person that I know. If now Terry, if you have ever done Rocky in the Rocky Horror Picture Show on stage, then you might have Keith edged out. He has. So and I have a picture of it. So if you do have done that in your past, you may edge him just by a nose.
Well, thank you, Coach. I'm happy to be here, and I've not done Rocky. However, I have been part of Rocky Horror Picture Show on stage. I've also been a part of the Full Monty on stage, and I've also been part of the ensemble for Chicago on stage. So there
Holy
you go.
cow! Well, I need to we'll get back together one of these days and with Keith on with us and y'all have a time. Y'all have a great visit because he's one of those, one of the most interesting men you've ever met. I mean, he travels and plays golf overseas. He works for Zales Jewelers here in town. But he is every spring and every fall they do at the Crescent Theater Rocky Horror Picture Show, and he has been Rocky for years.
Nice,
And
nice.
he is a piece of work. I can tell you that. As are you. So now let's go into the coaching part. Where are you from? What's your background? Why did you end up being a lifetime coach?
So, I guess the origins would be my dad. My dad was my little league coach. He was my park league coach. We played everything, just like many of us did back in the day. It's interesting. As I got older, I kind of figured out my parents were a lot smarter than I gave them credit for. My dad was the president of the park. My mom ran the concession stand. So
Mm-hmm.
think about that, Coach.
Right.
We're there every night anyway.
Right.
So we ate hot dogs and hamburgers and nachos for supper. So when
Mm-hmm.
we were done at the park at night, we got to go home and shower and go to bed. We had already eaten.
Right.
And that coaching, I think, was ingrained in me from an early age with him. Quite honestly, like I guess many people, the question is, can you make a career out of coaching? And initially, I didn't know that I could. I wasn't a great player. I played a little high school football or high school basketball, but I wasn't great. My dad was a park ball coach. He wasn't a big time college coach or high school coach. So I thought you needed one of those two things, to be in your pedigree to be an official full-time lifetime coach. And so I got to college, went to Louisiana Tech. I grew up in New Orleans, went in the Army for 2 years to pay for college, ended up at Louisiana Tech and was an engineer when I got there. And being an old public school kid from the West Bank of New Orleans, I didn't take chemistry. I didn't take calculus. I didn't take physics. And here I am, an engineer at Louisiana Tech. And so pretty quickly, I realized, I don't know that I'm cut out for this. And ironically, Coach, I was actually the athletic director for the Society of Petroleum Engineer intramural program. So
Okay.
Here I am. I'm coaching up these petroleum engineers. And so when I finally made the decision that, this isn't for me, my advisor, he was way ahead of me. He said, Terry, I knew where you belong, but I was going to let you make that decision. And so I switched over, got into education, got my degree in education. And as I'm about to finish up my degree, I didn't really know what I was going to coach. I was a high school basketball player. I played 1 year of high school football, but my favorite sport was football. I'd played baseball. I wasn't quite sure what I was going to coach. And so I went over to Ruston High School my last year at Louisiana Tech and volunteered for a guy by the name of Gary Mitchell. And as we all do, as all of us coaches, we have our mentors, and Gary is my first real mentor. I love
Right.
that guy. He's the reason I coach. He's absolutely the reason I coach basketball. And Gary just gave me the keys to the car, man. He let me in on his staff. We had 5 assistant coaches, and they were all studs, man. They were all of them were ended up being head coaches somewhere else across from Texas to Louisiana to everywhere in between. And he allowed me to be on the staff, and then we were off and running.
And we all, you're right. I mean, we all have, those people, and our story is very similar. My dad was youth league coach, very involved in the park and lining the fields and cutting the grass and all that stuff, and coached. I mean, he was the last coach I had in 17 and 18-year-old baseball the summer before I went off to college, and so and you get into it because, at least for me, it was watching. It wasn't him coaching me. It was watching how he was influencing other people and the impact he was having on the other kids. And like, boy, I one day I want to make people feel like that about, not about sport, but just about life in general. I mean, and how they always felt better after he spent time with them, coached them. Like, hey, I want to do that. That's cool stuff right there. And and it worked out the same thing, that I just was able to, I coached college ball the first 10 years was because my college assistant coaches, the people that coached me in college, ended up being, moving on and becoming head coaches and doing other things, and was fortunate enough they took me with them to some places and got me involved with it at that level. But so I was very blessed in regards to that. But we all got somebody, and usually multiple somebodies.
Absolutely.
And so you student teach at Ruston High School, and where do you go from there? What happens?
Yeah, so after we got done at Ruston High School, I graduated, and of course, Coach Mitchell made a call for me, and I ended up right down the road at a little small town, Sibley, Louisiana. It's about an hour from Shreveport, in between Shreveport and Ruston. Went down there, worked for a tremendous basketball coach, and I was an assistant for the boys and girls, and I was also assistant baseball coach. Interesting thing with baseball, we made it to the state semifinals in baseball, and to get there, we beat Josh Booty from Evangel Christian, and they were, man, he was a stud, and that team was really good, and we upset them, but we had 2 rain delays in the days preceding that, and so we upset them. They were number 1 in the state, but then when we get to the semifinals, because of the rain delays, we couldn't throw our stud in the semifinal game. And we got upset in the semis, and we lost. Basketball, we were really good, boys and girls. I think both teams went to the quarterfinals there. And again, the tie-in as we progress. One of the cool moments at Sibley was I was a student at Louisiana Tech. Went to all of the basketball games, men and women, and the Lady Textures were
right.
Big
They
time.
were dominant, right?
That's right. Coach Leon Barmore and Coach Pat Summit battling it out, and that summer, the guy I'm now working for at Sibley, Dan Grantham, says, "Hey, you want to ride over to Ruston?" I said, "Yeah, what's up?" He goes, "We're gonna go sit in with Coach Barmore and talk some hoops." I was like, "Absolutely." And so we ride over there and we sit in the Lady Texture locker room. It's me, Coach Grantham, and Leon Barmore. And he spent, I don't know, an hour and a half, 2 hours going through the Lady Texture defense from stance to everything they did with us. And not only did it create a foundation for me that we still use today, created a friendship, because even though I was at Louisiana Tech and I had met Coach Barmore, a couple times, I didn't really know him. And so he invited me to start working his camps. And so for the next 10 years, I worked Coach Barmore's camps. And so now you're talking Kim Mulkey, you're talking Christy Curry, you're talking Nell Fortner, you're talking, I mean, some of the Hall of Famers.
Right.
And so that my roots as being a Louisiana Tech graduate, but also working at Lady Techster camp for 10 years, that planted a serious seed, which would come into play later on as being a women's coach.
And now and we'll jump around a little bit here. So the coaching women versus coaching men. Compare and contrast that a little bit for us.
Yeah,
been on both sides of it.
Sure. What the old saying, coaching ladies or girls, they don't care. How's it go? They don't care what you know until you know they know you care.
Right.
And I think a lot of that pertains to guys too, but I think it may be a little more on the women's side. The game, coach, is I teach it exactly the same as I did when I was a high school boys coach. Exactly the same. Maybe with the guys, you can get after them a little bit more. Not that I don't challenge my girls and get after them, but the guys, I think you can get after them a little more. I think girls, particularly where I am now at UMS Wright, we have to find ways to make practices competitive. Guys, you and I, old coaches, you give us a basketball in the court, we're going to go out there and compete.
Right.
Girls, that's not always the case. Again, particularly at a place like UMS Wright, my girls have no desire, most of them, 99% of them, 98% of them have no desire to play college basketball. Mm-hmm. So they're going to come, they're going to do what I ask. But from a competition standpoint in practice, we got to make things competitive for them, because that's just not what they want to do. They're going to do everything I ask. But if I just put a ball out there, they're going to have fun. They might play a little horse, but they're not going to get, roll their sleeves up and get dirty like us guys might. So I think that's the biggest thing. It's finding ways to make as many days in practice competitive as you can.
And how did you get to UMS Wright? Hey, wait. So how you get from Ruston, Louisiana to a little private school in Mobile, Alabama?
All right. So here was my path. I go to Sibley for 1 year. I have a great year. Loved it there. My mentor, Gary Mitchell, calls me and says, "Hey, there's a head position open in New Iberia, Louisiana for the boys basketball coach." He goes, "I know some people down there. Want me to make a call?" Absolutely. I wasn't your typical first year coach because I had been in the Army. I changed majors. So instead of being a 22-year-old kid out of college, I was 26, so a little more mature. So I go down to New Iberia. I'm the boys head coach. We kind of turn that program around. The athletic director asked me, "Hey, what do you think about coaching the girls?" They were god awful, and it's just a fact. And so my thought process is hey, you still.
Hey, I lost you for a second, or you lost me.
Yep, I'll backtrack. So I go from Catholic high school to Nichols State. I'm at Nichols for 2 years. I'm at ULM for 3. End up at South Alabama, 2 years with Coach Rick Petrie. And after 8 years of college, I'd been through a divorce. I was just burnt out. I mean, you was a college coach. People don't understand sometimes when you're off, you're not off.
Right.
I had young daughters. I'd be at a little league baseball game, a softball game, and a recruit calls you. You better get that. You better answer that call. And so it was just burnt out. And someone told me that McGill-Toolen had a women's position open. So I called Coach Savarese on the phone, and they say, Coach, I hear you might have a women's position. Hey, Terry, thanks so much for calling, but we actually just offered the job to Lindsay Weems from UMS Wright. And so a lot of my peers at South Alabama also had connections to Coach Curtis and Dr. Havard and some of those guys, Mr. Lathan, all at UMS Wright. And so I've kind of changed my focus to them, and here we are now, 18 years later, and just feel like I've been there my entire life almost.
You went to UMS Wright just right after I went to Davidson, I believe. I started at Davidson in 04. So
Yep, a little bit after. I was 06, 06, 07. Yep.
Okay. Because I guess that was, and then Steve left right after that, become the executive director, so who knows how that would have played out anyhow. So it worked out beautifully for you to end up at. Of course, never would have thought. I didn't think Terry would still be coaching, truthfully, in 2024. But you get somewhere and you got good people around you. It's a lot easier to do, no question. So
absolutely.
Now, all this together, your quote off season, you officiate football games.
Yeah.
And so, how long have you been doing that?
So, us as coaches, man, we definitely don't do it because it makes us rich. And me being a private school coach, I understand the fact that I'm gonna have to do this till I drop dead. Because
retirement.
That's right. So again, like I mentioned, I love football. I absolutely love football. And so I want to say about 4 years ago, Gary Beasley, who obviously friends of both of ours, Gary Beasley's daughter was one of my players at UMS Wright, and he's a local official and does a great job. And I mentioned to him that I was thinking about it, and he said, "Man, come on, we need good officials. We need the whole deal." And he really took me under his wing, and I'll never forget the first time he got me to do one of your games. I mean, here I am. I'm barely on the varsity field on Friday nights, and he goes, "Come on, man, I want you to do one of these semi-pro football games." And I'm thinking, "Holy mackerel, I'm not ready for this," but he was such a great mentor for me with that, and it's just fun, man. I just love being around football, and Friday night football is so much fun, and I've gotten to where, like anything else, I mean, you got to continue to grow and you got to continue to improve, but I think us coaches, we built a little bit different. We never want to fail at anything. We never want to lose at anything. So I put a lot of time into it and study it and try and learn it and trying to, if nothing else, even if I don't know all the rules, I promise I'm gonna work my tail off during the games. And so that's kind of how that is. It's a cool little side hustle. Make a few extra dollars on a Friday night, or a JV night, or a middle school night, or flag football, and it's just a fun way. And I tell people I get paid to exercise. I get out there and run around and get paid a little bit to exercise during the off season.
And you never know the people that you run into and the connections that you make. I was at a local in-town gas station today that getting my car serviced and left it, and then walked around Fairhope, waited for it to get done, went back in, and Rambo's is the name of it, and been there for 100 years. And this older gentleman sitting there drinking a cup of coffee when I come back in, and Jerry, the guy who runs it now, says, "Well, Mr. Fred, here's the damage," and gives me the bill. And I said, "Oh, ain't no big deal." And the older gentleman sitting there looks at me and says, "You're Fred Riley?" I said, "Yes, sir, I am." And he said, well, I hadn't seen you in years. And I said, well, sir, I haven't seen you in years either. And I apologize, but I have no idea who you are. And he said, my name's so-and-so Johnson. He said, and I've officiated your football games for years and years, all the way back to Robertsdale. And he said, I'm one of the few left that ain't died. He said, he started rattling off names of guys that were his peers. And I said, well, I think I went to most of those funerals, actually, sir, and out of respect for those guys. And, he was just sort of sitting there non-assuming. And we all of a sudden we're talking about, Robertsdale Daphne football game in the mid-90s. And so really cool the people that you meet and see and how it all ends up, tied together.
Yeah. Well, and again, me on here, I mean, I knew of you and knew your name and knew who you were, but getting to officiate your games and getting to know you and your wife, and next thing you know, we exchanged messages on social media, and you get a little glimpse into my insanity laden life, and now here we are on your podcast.
Well, and now let's talk a little bit about Kim. Think about in insanity and her coming to some of our games and working the scoreboard and, and this and that. So tell us y'all's story. Where y'all met and how long have y'all been married? And she's obviously a sports fan and is into it because she's obviously a very great partner, which we need in doing, what I used to do and what you still do. Talk about her a little bit.
Yeah. So Kim, we've been married now going on 13 years. And her background is an actor. And so, back to all of those little hobbies I told you, me on the stage, she kind of encouraged me to do some of that stuff because I'd never done that in high school, college, or anything else. Right. I didn't do anything on the stage till my 40s, but a couple of opportunities came along and she kind of nudged me to do that. She's got a background in acting. She's done commercials, she's done short films, she's done little things like that. But the thing that she loved to do the most, she did the sideline reporting for high school football games. And so when we met, she was doing them in Mississippi. She was living in Jackson, Mississippi at the time. And we dated for 3 years, long distance. And it wasn't the right time to get married and move her here because she had just about finishing high school. And so we would drive, and I'd drive over to Mississippi and see her. She'd drive to Mobile, or we'd meet in New Orleans for Saints games, and we did that. But she did the sideline reporting there in Mississippi for years. And then when she moved here, she actually did some of the Alabama stuff. She did both football, and she did some of the Final Four games for basketball here in Alabama. The most unfortunate thing was our years never synced up. So I've been to 3 Final Fours, but never one of the ones that she did. And so, so of all the things I wish we could have done, that would have been super cool. But with the acting gig, most of her stuff is kind of freelance. She does voice work. She does kind of freelance stuff. And so a few years ago, we got a home-based travel agency. We started up. And so that is kind of her full-time thing now. She does that for us and just is great. She's so much more patient than I am. I mean, some days she's on the phone with Delta Airlines. She's on hold for 4 hours.
Oh my gosh.
I would lose my mind. She is so patient and takes such great care of the people whose travel she books. So she does that. As you mentioned, she did one night. Beasley says, "Hey, you think Kim's available? We need a clock keeper for one of your games." And again, she's a nervous wreck. She said, "Wait a minute, I can't. I don't. I can." I said, "Baby, you watch football. We watch football religiously. You can do it. You'll be fine." And so we kind of gave her a little quick lesson, and so she would come do that with us from time to time. But like me, she's kind of a jack of all trades, and she helps us sub at UMS when we're in a bind. She'll sub over there sometimes. She's my scorekeeper for basketball, so we keep her close. road trips. She's on the bus with us. She's kind of a
Right.
segregate mom for our players, and
Sure.
I'm sure all of the same things your bride did during your career.
I mean, the best thing that we did at Davidson, as far as me and Susan, was um, we were watching Georgia on TV one day, and I don't know who it was against, and they show Mark Richt's wife on the sideline pouring water and pouring Gatorade and working,
Oh, wow.
and she looks at me and says, "Why can't I do that?" I said, "You want to do that?" She said, "Absolutely. I want to be on the sideline." She said, "I don't like being in the stands anyhow. I'm a nervous wreck. It keeps me busy. I want to be down there." I said, "You'll be down there. I mean, you're down there this next week. Let's do it." And so I guess it was 2008 all the way on for 10 years. She was on the sidelines at every game. She missed one game. She had breast cancer and had reconstructive surgery during the middle of the 2009 season. And I remember we were playing Baker that week, I believe. And I remember being at the hospital when she came out of the anesthetic, looked up at me and said, "How come you're not at practice?" This was Thursday before the game on Friday. I said, "I've got a good staff. They've got it, honey." Yeah. And she missed that game. The next week, she was back on the sideline. She missed one game, and she was good. And over the years, we ended up with 5 or 6 coaches' wives on the sideline, just involved. It was just that way that they don't have to hear all the yan in the stands and somebody yelling at their husband and all that, and
yep.
And so it really became a great way to have them involved and have them down there. And I enjoyed having them down there, and it brought a different touch to the sideline too. I mean, with them down there around the players, and and sometimes you get on one and you turn around and one of the wives got their arm around their neck. I mean, and making sure that everything's going to be okay. So it was a great team, and having you can't. Having a partner like that is that's again, you get to spend some time together. I mean, you're not I mean, like I said, going on bus trips, all those things. I mean, for your wife to get on a bus trip to Hillcrest Evergreen for a Tuesday night basketball game. I mean, that's a good woman right there now.
There's no question. And man, we spend so much time at school and at practice and away from our families. It's really nice to have her there. One funny story, we were in New Orleans for a tournament, and one of my players got sick, and her parents were traveling for business. And so Kim and I take her to urgent care, and we're in there. You go from nurse to nurse to nurse, and then we finally back in the doctor, and we sitting in there with one of my players, and doctor comes in and says, well, we're gonna give you a shot. Can you drop your? It's like, whoa, we ain't dropping no. Let me get out of it. I said, we are not the parents. I am coach, but the doc was ready to give her a shot right there. I said, no, let me exit the room. But it is, we are surrogate parents to a lot of these kids, and I know at UMS we're so blessed with the parent involvement and the parents being there.
Right.
But I know you guys roll, at a public school like Davidson. I know you guys really had to be mom and dad to a lot of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, we had numerous coaches, including us, have players, live with us. We had a kid live with us for 3 months, basically from May to August one time, because he was homeless.
Yeah.
And we had kids, Alphonse Taylor, who played at Alabama and a tremendous football player. He basically lived with his offensive line coach his entire time in high school.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
so we had a lot of young people like that that we saw their lives change. We did as much as we could. We couldn't save all of them, but we it wasn't for it wasn't for lack of trying.
Right. Yep. Yep.
No question. And it's and you're right. The Jay Pope, of course, and Kevin Rayleigh there with you.
Yeah.
Good,
Yeah.
good friends, guys I've worked with. I mean, Jay Pope told me one time he'd been there just a couple of months, and he called me and said, "Coach Riley, I got to tell you something." I said, "What's up, buddy?" He said, "I didn't know a place like this existed." He said, he said, "These kids say thank you when you
Yeah.
give them their jerseys in the laundry room.
Yeah.
They wait
Yeah.
in line." He said, I just didn't know that there was a high school situation that where they actually still acted this way.
Yeah.
And he's loved every minute of it. And I know Kevin has too. And just the little bit I've talked to him about it.
Yeah, those guys are the salt of the earth, man. As a matter of fact, I had, on most days I have lunch with Coach Pope, and it is a very unique situation. I mean, every place you coach, you're going to have hurdles and you have obstacles.
Sure.
For me, sometimes we play some teams, and you're like, man, I wish I had one like that. I wish
Right.
I would, but when you look at just the whole picture, like you say, I've been at UMS for 18 years and I have not had to break up one fight.
Right.
Public school, you got fights every day at lunch. Or at least it used to. I've been one of
Well,
them times.
no. No. I went down in one in Robertsdale in '98, and I swore if I ever get off the bottom of this pile, I will never break up a fight ever again. If I can just get these people off of me.
Yeah.
And I told Mr. Copeland, when we were there and we were talking about duties and this and that, I said, I got to tell you, boss, I went down in '98 under a pile. I mean, I'm not breaking one up. I'll call for help, but
Yep.
this is for these young guys got to handle this stuff. I mean, this is these 20 and 30-year-olds. Let them handle the fights. And
Yes.
as I'm not going down. These are, of course, we deal with grown men physically. I mean,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's tough, And on another thing, talking about that, I know you just came back from the state championships and spent the time up there. A place like you had Viger play Fairfield in the
Yep.
boys finals,
Mm-hmm.
and those are, if not the two most violent communities to grow up in the state, they're both in the top 5. And in some cases in the Southeast or in the country. I mean, Fairfield, Alabama, Pritchard, Alabama, the job that those coaches do and dealing with all the baggage that comes with growing up in that community or those communities. And then I sent Ben Thomas a text and said, it would be this is going to be the biggest night or biggest day of most of those kids' lives that they'll ever have, ever.
Yeah.
And it'd be interesting to if you would keep their roster, and 10 years from now, find out where they are, find out what's happened to them, find out, because it's tough. I mean, I've had so many kids. I mean, we had a former player shot and killed in Mobile 3 weeks ago. And I mean, every time it's violent, and and it's a tough world that a lot of those kids grow up in, and some of them just really literally don't have a chance. I mean,
It's tough. They really are behind the 8 ball. My highlight of I went up there for a couple days, and we lost, and TR Miller beat us, and they were up there playing, and I was blah blah blah. I was just in my feels, as the kids say. But Kim was able to come up with me, and we watching. But we were there for the first night we were there for Viger's semifinal game, and that that actually kind of rejuvenated me, and it was really fun. But Coach Jackson, their coach, see, I helped Coach Galley with cross country, and Coach Jackson has his boys basketball run cross country,
Gotcha.
which a couple of years ago when I saw him out there, I was floored because boys basketball players aren't necessarily designed to be
Right.
able to run cross country.
He's just
And,
keeping them
and
busy.
oh, and look, the toughness and like you say, having those guys up on a Saturday morning at 7 o'clock to run 3, 4, 5 miles. I had so much respect for him, and I've grown to really, really like the guy and care for him, and to watch him do what he did this year with his team. It made my whole trip to Birmingham to be there and cheer him on.
Yeah, that's cool, and I know it was hard for you. I mean, we were at Davidson, we were the second best team in the South 5 times, and I mean, it's hard. It takes it takes a couple of weeks to where your breathing's back right again, and it just
Yeah.
is what it is because you just put so much into it, and you're that close, and you want it so much for those kids, and
Yep.
and
Yep.
you can, and then you end up being careful. You what if yourself to death for a little bit
Oh,
all that too.
yes, you do. Yes, you do.
We had a bunch of guys come over and sit here a while back, and of all things, they want to talk about a play in 2009 versus Prattville in the playoffs, and do I wish I had fill in the blank in that particular game.
Yeah.
Guys, I remember a lot, but truthfully, I don't particularly remember that moment. It's amazing what stuck out in y'all's minds. I remember getting called for 4 holding penalties by the same umpire in 4 straight drives after we crossed the 50-yard line, and he didn't call one on them. I remember that. Holy cow, I remember that. But that they'll, the kids that played for you, I know, will always cherish that opportunity, what they got to do, the things the experiences you present for them. I mean, you take them all over and travel over and play and give them and put them in places that they would, not normally get to experience as athletes. Because as you said, most of them are going to go on and be, whatever it is they're going to be, very successful. But college basketball players, for the most part, is not going to be one of them. So that's their highlight of their athletic experience would have been the 4 years they were with you.
Here's a stat for you that makes me pretty proud. I had 4 seniors this year. Okay, all of them, none of them transferred in. There was no transfers, and I was listening to one of the other podcast episodes early today, and we talking about the competitive balance and the multiply and all of that foolishness. We get hit twice. Okay, so I've got 4 seniors who've been with me the whole time, elementary school on up. Okay, none of them are going to play anything in college. They're going to be college students over their 4-year career. Okay, 104 wins. So they've won 26 games a year. They've been to 3 Elite 8. I'm sorry, 3 Sweet 16s or 4 Sweet 16s, 2 Elite 8s or 3 Elite. I don't remember, and a Final Four. Right. So, those are the things that, as a coach, make me proud. I mean, like you say, finishing second in the South. It grates on us as coaches, and it's frustrating, and the whole thing. But compared to the competition, last year we beat Jackson to go to the Final Four. Jackson had a 6'3" kid that signed with Alabama, right. and we're in the Final Four and they're not. This year T.R. Miller beat us. They end up in the state championship. But what our girls give us and what they do for our program and the success that they've had. Those are the things that make us proud as coaches. Winning the ones you're not supposed to win, and right. We do that a lot.
Right. No question. And we always, we talk about scheduling in football and you're if you're going to, if you're smart, you can schedule your way to a winning season. I mean, you're going to have X amount of games that you're going to lose. I mean, you know it up front. I mean, you don't tell the players that, but you know it when you're sitting in there in the room. Okay, we're probably going to lose these 2 or 3. We got to win these 3. I mean, this is non-negotiable. And now the other 4 are 50-50 games. If we just win half of them, we go 500. If we could find a way to win 3 of them, we end up with a winning record. And and those are when we were at Robertsdale, that's how we looked at things. I mean, guys, we got to beat W.S. Neal and whomever. We've got to win these games. We're probably not going to beat Foley. Everybody wants us to beat Foley, but we ain't beat them but 9 times in 91 attempts. I mean,
right.
Probably not going to happen a lot. We're probably not going to beat Daphne. But back in the day, we got to beat UMS Wright. I mean, we've got to beat. Back in the day, we beat McGill. That's back before y'all had really turned it on, and before both schools had really started winning football games. And so those were games that we felt, you got to win those games. And and for y'all, same thing. I mean, for you to get where y'all got to get, you're going to have to beat somebody you ain't supposed to beat, and you're going to have to upset somebody. And more than likely on the road, and find a way to get it done. And but it builds a lifetime of memories and things that you'll never forget. And kids you'll never forget. And again, thanks for what you do and what you do for Mobile and for community and for that school. It's and again, I'm not going to say thank you for your and for your commitment and contribution to the arts, because I have not seen you as of yet. So I'm going to reserve judgment on that. But I thank Kim for hers. I know she's done quality work.
Absolutely.
I'm still wondering whether you're just a glorified stagehand or not. But we'll one of these days,
could be.
Me and Susie going to have to come check you out, see what you're doing. That'll be great.
Absolutely.
But Terry, thanks so much for coming on. We appreciate you and all that you do and all that you have done for young people in your life. Keep up the good work, and look forward to seeing you soon, partner. Okay.
Well, Coach, hey, thanks so much for having me on, and please say hi to your beautiful bride for me. And I will tell you that the Perdido Queen has murder mysteries, and my wife and I do partake in those as well. And so one night you need to take her out to the Perdido Queen and go catch one of those murder mysteries, and you might see a couple people you recognize.
I will tell her that in about 5 minutes. I promise you. Appreciate it, buddy. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Coach. Bye-bye.